Welcome back to Reddit Drama Unpacked, where the most shocking, jaw-dropping relationship stories unfold. Today's story will make your blood boil and your jaw drop. On his wedding anniversary, his wife didn't just cheat, she humiliated him. But when she thought she won, he launched a cold, calculated revenge that left her entire life in ruins. This isn't just a divorce story. This is the brutal aftermath of betrayal you have to see to believe. Let's dive in. In my youth, life seemed straightforward. I had dreams like anyone else: build a family, work hard, find success, and share my life with someone who truly loved me. I wasn't looking for luxury or fame. I only wanted stability and happiness, and for many years I thought I had it. Meeting Jennifer felt like a dream. She was kind, sweet, and beautiful, in a way that wasn't overwhelming but deeply comforting. We met at a fraternity party back in college, neither of us big on the party scene, but fate has its way of bringing people together in unlikely places. After that first encounter, coffee dates turned into study sessions, which eventually led to a deep and meaningful relationship. We complemented each other perfectly. Where I was cautious and methodical, she was spontaneous and warm. Together, we built what seemed to be an unshakable bond. We married young, right after graduation, and settled into our life together in Chicago. The first years were humble: tiny apartments, shared train rides to work, budgeting every dollar. But we were happy, truly happy. Our love deepened with every shared sacrifice, every small triumph, every long evening spent dreaming about our future together. Over time, our careers progressed. I moved into software development and rose steadily through the ranks while Jennifer took charge of our home and eventually started a part-time job when our children arrived. We had two wonderful kids, Jacob and Emily, who became the center of our universe. A house in the suburbs, a golden retriever, weekend soccer games, and family vacations. We were the portrait of a middle-class American dream. For years, I believed we were building something solid, something lasting. I worked hard to provide for us, to make sure Jennifer and the kids had everything they needed. I wasn't perfect, far from it, but I tried. Every day I tried. Jennifer was my best friend, my lover, and the person I trusted most in the world. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. At first, I didn't think much of Jennifer's decision to go back to work full-time. She said she wanted a sense of independence now that the kids were older, and I supported her without hesitation. After all, a little extra income was welcome, and I wanted her to feel fulfilled. She was excited about the new position at a marketing firm, full of youthful energy and ambition. But as months turned into years, small cracks began to form beneath the surface of our marriage. Jennifer worked longer hours and she started coming home later and later. She brushed it off as work stress and extra responsibilities. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Our intimacy started to fade. At first it was occasional. She was tired, busy, stressed. But the distance grew. She stopped reaching for my hand at night. Our conversations turned shallow, limited to schedules and logistics. We became more like business partners than husband and wife. The hardest part wasn't the lack of physical connection, it was the emotional distance. The woman who used to share everything with me was now distant, guarded. She no longer looked at me with the same warmth, and every day it felt like she was slipping further away. I told myself it was just a phase. We'd been married for over a decade. These things happen, I thought. Couples go through ups and downs. I tried harder, planned date nights, bought her flowers, cooked her favorite meals. But nothing seemed to break through her invisible wall. I was desperate to save us, but I didn't want to push too hard. I feared confronting her might make things worse. And so I waited. I waited, hoping she would come back to me on her own. Then came my birthday. She'd hinted for weeks that she had a special surprise planned for me. I stumbled upon it by accident. A small pink box with a white ribbon hidden behind some shoe boxes in her closet. The attached card read, "Please forgive the packaging. The real gift is what's inside when I wear it for you on your birthday." My heart raced. For a moment, hope returned. Maybe she was trying. Maybe she wanted to rekindle what we had lost. I was excited. I spent the next 2 days doting on her, showing her affection, planning a romantic evening. But the night of my birthday arrived, and nothing happened as I imagined. She came home late. We went out for a casual pizza dinner with the kids. When we returned home, she gave me a small square gift wrapped in balloon paper, not the pink box I had found. It was a cheap watch, clearly a last-minute purchase, and that was it. No intimate moment, no special surprise, no explanation. She rolled over in bed, turned off the light, and went to sleep. I sat there, stunned. The pink box never appeared. The intimate gift she'd promised was never mentioned. I lay awake all night, replaying the evening in my mind, trying to make sense of it. My gut twisted as dark thoughts began creeping in, thoughts I had refused to entertain for years. Was she seeing someone else? The possibility haunted me. Over the next few weeks, the signs became harder to ignore. Late nights at work, secretive phone calls, sudden interest in new lingerie she never wore for me. I started noticing patterns, inconsistencies, lies that didn't quite add up. I became obsessed with finding the truth. The moment I allowed myself to confront the reality of Jennifer's betrayal, my entire world shifted. I no longer lived in naive hope, but cold suspicion. Every late night, every vague excuse, every unexpected phone call, it all clicked into place. I began my own private investigation. I wasn't some private detective, but I was a programmer, methodical, logical, and obsessively detail-oriented. My first step was gaining access to our shared phone bill records. I reviewed months of call logs and noticed frequent late-night calls and texts to one particular number. Alan Henderson. Alan. Her boss. The man I had met only once but instinctively disliked. His smug smile, slicked back hair, and overly familiar demeanor around Jennifer haunted me now. The frequency of their calls left no room for doubt. I started watching Jennifer more carefully. She'd always been careful, but not careful enough. She began dressing more provocatively for work, heels a little higher, skirts a little shorter, makeup a bit bolder. These weren't changes for my benefit. Then came the slip-ups. A receipt for an expensive hotel dinner she couldn't explain. A strange fragrance on her clothes that wasn't hers. And once, a small mark on her neck, poorly hidden with concealer. Every inconsistency became another nail in the coffin of our marriage. Still, I said nothing. Not yet. Instead, I built my plan. I consulted a divorce attorney, a calm, sharp woman named Patricia. She laid out the brutal truth. Despite my wife's infidelity, Illinois law was not on my side. Infidelity would not heavily factor into custody or asset division. Without clear evidence of unfit parenting, Jennifer could easily secure primary custody of Jacob and Emily. Our assets, including the house, would likely be split 50-50. To make things worse, as I earned more, I'd be paying alimony and child support. I left her office that day feeling hollow. 17 years of marriage, of sacrifice, could be dismantled in months, and Jennifer, the betrayer, would walk away with more than half of everything I worked for. That night, as Jennifer walked through the door, cheerfully humming after another late meeting, I looked at her like a stranger. My stomach twisted with silent rage, but rage wouldn't help me. I needed control. I needed patience. So I played along. For the next few weeks, I became a man she couldn't read. I acted polite, kind even, masking my anger beneath layers of indifference. I needed Jennifer to feel safe, comfortable, and unaware of the storm I was preparing. Privately, I began dismantling our financial security. I legally drained joint savings into separate accounts under my name, ensuring every transaction was traceable and defensible in court. I overfunded the kids' college savings, paid off debts, prepaid taxes, and made expensive but legitimate purchases like upgrading my car and renovating parts of the house. Jennifer barely noticed. She thought we were simply enjoying the benefits of my hard work. At the same time, I hired a private investigator. If infidelity wouldn't help me in court, alienation of affection lawsuits might, especially against the men involved. Illinois still allowed such suits, and I would drag them into the mess they helped create. The PI delivered more than I expected. Jennifer's affair with Alan wasn't exclusive. The investigator found evidence of multiple affairs, all stemming from her new work environment. Flirtatious messages, compromising photos, surveillance footage. It was overwhelming. I had proof of at least 7 different men she had been with during the past 2 years. The betrayal ran deeper than I ever imagined. Jennifer wasn't just unfaithful, she was reckless, selfish, and indifferent to the family she once claimed to cherish. And with every new piece of evidence, my resolve hardened. I wasn't going to merely divorce her, I was going to destroy her. Jennifer had no idea the trap was closing around her. She thought she controlled the narrative, believing I was clueless, passive, and too heartbroken to act. But what she didn't know was that every late night she spent tangled in another man's sheets only fueled my strategy. Weeks turned into months. I executed my plan methodically, hiding my emotions behind a carefully constructed mask. Meanwhile, Jennifer continued her double life, returning home late, skipping family events, and avoiding intimacy. Then came our anniversary. By now, our marriage was a ghost of what it had been. Jennifer didn't even acknowledge the significance of the date. She left for another so-called business trip, claiming she had a work conference out of state. I knew better. I knew exactly where she was. The investigator provided me with real-time updates. Jennifer and Alan had rented a hotel suite downtown. My PI captured clear footage of them together, kissing, laughing, undressing. It was all documented. As I sat in our empty house that night, sipping a glass of bourbon, I no longer felt pain, only clarity. The woman I had married was gone. The next morning, I filed for divorce. The first shot had been fired. The divorce papers were served 2 days later while Jennifer was at work. I made sure to time the delivery perfectly, in front of her colleagues. The process server approached her desk, handed her the thick envelope, took a photo for legal proof, and left. Jennifer's world cracked that moment. I could feel it from afar. That evening she came home visibly shaken. "You filed for divorce?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I took a long sip of my drink, looked her dead in the eye, and calmly replied, "Yes." She stared at me, searching for any hint of emotion. There was none. "Michael, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. No, Jennifer. You had your chance. You threw it away." Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in months, she looked afraid. But I was past sympathy. Her remorse meant nothing. She hadn't come clean on her own. She had been caught. I stood, walked past her, and whispered my final words for the evening. "The divorce is just the beginning." The divorce filing was just the opening move. Now came the real game, and I had already stacked the deck. Jennifer's lawyer reached out within 48 hours of receiving the papers. Predictably, her initial counterproposal was outrageous. She wanted full custody of Jacob and Emily. The house, alimony, child support, half of my assets, and even a portion of my future income. In any other situation, I might have panicked, but not this time. My attorney calmly smiled as we reviewed the demands. "She's bluffing," Patricia said, "but let her dig her own grave." The next phase of my plan involved releasing the evidence I had so meticulously gathered. I authorized my PI to forward copies of photos, videos, and documented timelines directly to Jennifer's lawyer. The moment those files arrived, everything shifted. Within 24 hours, Jennifer's attorney requested an emergency meeting. We sat across from each other at Patricia's office, Jennifer looking pale and hollow, her eyes darting between her lawyer and me. Her confidence had evaporated. Her lawyer opened, voice tight. "Mr. Smith, my client is willing to discuss more reasonable terms." I sipped my coffee and said nothing, letting the silence crush them. "Perhaps joint custody, equitable asset division, and—" "No," I interrupted. "I'm seeking sole custody, the house, and full financial control." Jennifer's face contorted. "You're being cruel, Michael." I leaned forward, voice low. "No, Jennifer, you were cruel. I'm simply giving you a lesson in consequences." Her lawyer tried to argue, but Patricia shut her down calmly. "You can argue all you want, but we both know what evidence we're sitting on." Jennifer's hand trembled as she reached for her water. She looked at me, pleading. "Michael, please, don't do this. Don't destroy me." I stared at her for a long moment. "You destroyed yourself." The legal negotiations continued for weeks. With every passing day, Jennifer grew more desperate. The evidence of multiple affairs, including several with clients of her company, opened up additional legal avenues I never imagined. We filed civil lawsuits against her employer, and 3 of their client companies citing negligent supervision, workplace misconduct, and alienation of affection. My attorney knew we likely wouldn't win massive settlements, but we didn't have to. The threat of discovery and public exposure was enough to make everyone panic. Suddenly, those companies were eager to settle quietly to avoid scandal. One by one, checks came in. By the end of it, I had secured over $1 million in out-of-court settlements. Meanwhile, her employer fired her. Public rumors swirled about her workplace behavior, damaging her reputation far beyond repair. She couldn't find new work, not even as a freelancer. Her name was toxic. At home, I carefully shielded Jacob and Emily from the chaos. They were my priority. I ensured our home life remained stable, warm, and as normal as possible. I attended every school event, parent-teacher meeting, and sports game. My children became my anchor, pulling me back to sanity during the storm. Privately, though, Jennifer spiraled. Her social circle abandoned her. Even her parents, once her biggest defenders, were deeply disappointed. They had always admired our marriage, seeing me as the steady rock. Now they saw their daughter's reckless destruction of her own family. Jennifer tried everything. Tears, apologies, even late-night drunk phone calls. I ignored them all. There was nothing left to say. At one point, she even tried to confront me at home. Standing on our front porch, sobbing, she begged for another chance. "I still love you," she whispered. "No," I said softly but firmly. "You love the comfort I provided. You don't love me." I closed the door in her face. When the divorce finally concluded, I walked away with full custody of the kids, the house, and most of our remaining assets. Jennifer received a tiny settlement and scheduled monthly visitations supervised by a court-appointed counselor. Legally, the war was over. Emotionally, it wasn't. I watched Jennifer descend into a version of herself I barely recognized. She bounced from short-term relationships to dead-end jobs, unable to rebuild the life she'd once thrown away so carelessly. But I wasn't finished. The final stage of my revenge came quietly. Through some well-placed contacts, I ensured that Jennifer's employment history, legal troubles, and infidelity were quietly known to every HR department she applied to. Every potential boyfriend who searched her name online would find out exactly who she was. Her reputation followed her like a shadow, ensuring she could never fully escape it. I didn't send anonymous threats or engage in harassment. That would have made me no better than her. I simply ensured that the truth was always available, and the truth was poison enough. One afternoon, years later, Jacob found an old family photo in a box. He stared at it for a long time before asking, "Dad, was Mom always like this?" I kneeled next to him and spoke carefully. "No, son. She was someone different once. But people make choices. Some choices can't be undone." He nodded solemnly, folding the photo and putting it back in the box. In that moment, I realized my revenge was complete. Not because Jennifer suffered, but because my children had survived, because I was still standing, and because I never let her destroy me. The legal war raged on, but I had momentum. Every piece of evidence chipped away at Jennifer's position. What she once thought was private, hotel receipts, photos, text messages, even her voice recordings, now sat neatly organized in Patricia's thick binder. Every court appearance was a new humiliation for her. The judge reviewed the materials without much emotion, but with firm attention. Jennifer's lawyer attempted to argue that her affairs didn't impact her ability to be a mother. Patricia countered coldly, "No, but it reflects on her judgment, stability, and priorities, all critical factors for custody." Jennifer sat frozen. The custody fight was brutal. The court-appointed counselor interviewed both children. Jacob, 11 at the time, was mature beyond his years. His words echoed in the counselor's report. "Dad's always here. He helps with homework, makes dinner, and takes us everywhere. Mom's busy a lot." Emily, only 9, was softer but still honest. "I love Mommy, but she's gone a lot. Daddy always tucks us in." The counselor's conclusion was devastating for Jennifer. Mr. Smith demonstrates primary parental involvement, emotional stability, and provides a safe, nurturing environment. Sole custody is recommended. Jennifer's lawyer attempted a last-minute plea for shared custody, but the judge had heard enough. The gavel fell. I was awarded full custody of Jacob and Emily. But custody wasn't my only target. Financially, I wanted Jennifer to feel what it was like to lose everything, as I almost had. The civil lawsuits against her employer and clients quietly settled. The total settlements, after legal fees, surpassed $1.2 million. Every company involved wanted to avoid the scandal leaking into the media. Jennifer's reputation in the professional world was obliterated. The marketing firm that once hired her blacklisted her permanently. Word spread fast. No reputable agency in Chicago would touch her. When the dust settled financially, Jennifer was left with no job, no alimony thanks to her proven misconduct, minimal child support obligations, no claim to my retirement accounts, I'd drained them legally before filing, and zero credibility in court. The house was mine, the kids were mine. Even most of the shared savings accounts had already been liquidated or shifted during the 2 years I'd been preparing. But revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes the quiet parts are far crueler. For the first 6 months after the final ruling, Jennifer attempted to rebuild. She applied for dozens of jobs. None called back, I made sure of that. Through my private contacts in HR networks, I quietly shared public court documents whenever her name came up in background checks. I never lied, I never exaggerated. I simply made sure the truth followed her wherever she went. When she tried online dating, I played a similar game. Each time a new man entered her life, I made sure they received anonymous packages, polite, factual summaries of Jennifer's documented affairs, her workplace misconduct, and her court battles. No threats, no blackmail, just the truth. Most of them disappeared. As months turned into years, Jennifer faded into a shell of the woman I once knew. She moved into a small apartment outside the city, far from the life we had built. Eventually, she picked up part-time work, cleaning motel rooms under the table. Occasionally, she'd send messages through friends, asking to meet or reconcile. I ignored everyone. My children adjusted far better than I expected. I kept their lives structured, school, activities, trips, and stability. They flourished under consistency and love. I remained single, uninterested in romance. My energy went into fatherhood and rebuilding my career. But fate wasn't done surprising me. 2 years after the divorce, my software consulting firm took off. A major tech company bought my firm outright, offering me an executive role and a lucrative compensation package. Overnight, I was wealthier than I had ever imagined. With the money, I bought a larger home outside the city, one with a pool, a library, and rooms for both children to grow into. My home became a sanctuary. Jennifer, meanwhile, continued to spiral downward. Occasionally, I'd hear whispers about her struggles, failed relationships, mounting debts, even minor legal troubles over unpaid loans. By then, I no longer felt rage toward her, only pity. And yet, fate offered one final encounter. 16 years after our divorce at Emily's wedding, I saw Jennifer again. She was unrecognizable, older, heavier, her once bright eyes dulled, but there was still a small trace of the woman I had loved long ago. She approached me hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. "For the record, Michael, you ruined my life first." I glanced down at her modest ring, then back into her tired eyes. "I'm glad you found someone," I replied. "I hope he makes you happy." Then I walked away as calm, composed, victorious, and finally free. With custody settled and Jennifer financially devastated, I could have stopped there. But I didn't, because revenge, true revenge, isn't just about winning. It's about ensuring your enemy remembers exactly why they lost, for years. After the court's decision, Jennifer tried to rebuild her life. She applied for dozens of jobs. None called back. The truth was simple. Every time her name appeared in a hiring process, I made sure someone received her full legal file. HR directors are risk-averse by nature. When they see documented workplace misconduct, they don't call back. Even when she applied outside the city, I made sure word traveled ahead of her. Quiet emails, anonymous faxes, HR forums. My network was vast. I never lied, I never threatened. I simply delivered facts. Jennifer's career was over. Socially, she fared no better. When she tried dating, I ensured that every man learned who she really was. Anonymous packages arrived at their homes or offices, containing court transcripts, copies of affairs, and the outcomes of the lawsuits. Some men ghosted her instantly. Others confronted her and left in disgust. The few who stayed learned quickly that any association with Jennifer was social suicide. Her social circle shrunk to nothing. Over the next 3 years, Jennifer spiraled further downward. She moved from a small apartment to a crumbling rental on the city's outskirts. With no steady work, she took whatever odd jobs she could find, cleaning motel rooms, temp clerical work, sometimes nothing at all for weeks. Occasionally, I'd receive word from mutual acquaintances that she was struggling to pay rent or utilities. I never offered help. She was reaping exactly what she sowed. Meanwhile, my life flourished. With the company sale behind me, I returned to software development, my first love. I started a small tech firm consulting for larger corporations. Within 18 months, I'd signed contracts worth millions. My reputation grew rapidly. Financially, I was untouchable. For my children, I remained ever present. Private school, vacations abroad, birthday parties, college funds fully stocked. They lacked nothing. More importantly, they had stability. The one unexpected development was Mrs. Marlene Jensen. Initially hired as a part-time housekeeper and nanny, she became a grandmother figure to Jacob and Emily. She lived in the guest house on my property, and over time became my closest confidant. She wasn't just staff, she was family. When I struggled with decisions, especially regarding Jennifer, Marlene offered calm, wise counsel. Not judgment, just insight. But Jennifer wasn't finished making bad decisions. One night, 2 years post-divorce, I received a knock on my door. It was one of Jennifer's new boyfriends, drunk, angry, and looking for a fight. I opened the door to him, shoving me backwards. His mistake. I had spent years burying my rage. That night I unleashed it. He left my property with multiple broken bones and a fractured jaw. He was lucky to leave alive. The police charged him with trespassing and assault. He pled guilty, received probation, and disappeared. After that, Jennifer stopped trying to send anyone my way. The years rolled on. Jennifer eventually moved out of state, trying to escape her reputation. She landed in rural Virginia, working menial jobs that barely paid for rent. Word reached me occasionally. Failed relationships, eviction threats, even petty legal troubles. The once proud woman I married now lived in quiet desperation. Meanwhile, my children thrived. Jacob graduated with honors, earning a scholarship to a top engineering program. Emily pursued medicine, eventually enrolling in a prestigious university's pre-med track. They visited Jennifer occasionally, but it was always strained. They saw through her attempts to rebuild a relationship she had thrown away. 16 years after our divorce, Emily's wedding reunited us for the first and likely last time. When I saw Jennifer across the reception hall, I barely recognized her. Heavier, lines etched deep into her face, eyes clouded with regret. Yet beneath the ruin, I saw a flicker of the woman I had once loved. She approached me hesitantly. "For the record," she whispered, "you ruined my life first." I paused, studying the modest gold ring on her finger. Some small part of me pitied her. "I'm glad you found someone," I said softly. "I hope he makes you happy." Then I walked away, leaving her standing alone. That was the final victory. Not rage, not humiliation, just complete, irreversible indifference. For many, the story would have ended at the wedding. But for me, it didn't. Because revenge, true revenge, doesn't end with indifference. True revenge is legacy. After Emily's wedding, I saw Jennifer only once more, unexpectedly. Roughly a year later, I attended a business leadership conference in Washington, D.C. I was networking at a hotel lounge when I noticed a cleaning lady across the room. It was Jennifer. I recognized her instantly, despite the faded uniform, graying hair, and the weight she had put on. The years had drained her beauty into anonymity. Her back was slightly hunched, her face lined and tired. She didn't see me at first. I could have ignored her, I should have, but I didn't. But as I walked over, she finally looked up. For a brief moment, panic flashed in her eyes. Then exhaustion took over. "Michael," she breathed, barely audible. "Jennifer." I stood before her, calm, composed, almost surgical in my delivery. "You look well," she said weakly, clearly searching for something, anything, and to hold on to. You don't, I replied flatly. There was no malice in my tone, just truth. We stood there for several seconds, neither speaking. Eventually, I broke the silence. You could have had everything, I said quietly. All you had to do was love me. Be loyal. Protect what we built together. Tears welled up in her eyes. She tried to say something but couldn't find the words. I don't hate you, I continued. You were simply weak, and weakness carries consequences. Her lip trembled. I lost everything, Michael. I nodded. Yes, and you earned every bit of it. Her voice cracked, whispering, Do the kids hate me? I paused. They don't hate you, but you're no longer part of their lives. That's not my doing, Jennifer, that's yours. She lowered her head, the weight of reality suffocating her. I could have walked away there. But one final piece remained. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a small envelope, perfectly folded, neatly sealed. Handing it to her, I whispered, For closure. She hesitated but accepted it. Inside was a photo, one taken years ago during our happiest days. Our family, me, Jennifer, Jacob and Emily at a park, laughing, carefree, innocent. Attached was a short note in my handwriting. This was the life you threw away. That was the last time I ever saw her. In the years that followed, my business empire expanded rapidly. My software firm absorbed competitors, and my name became a quiet legend in the industry. My children flourished. Both married well, had children of their own, and built beautiful lives. I became a grandfather, something I never thought would bring me peace, but it did. My home remained filled with life, love, and laughter, everything Jennifer lost. And yet I remained alone, not because I couldn't move on, but because I chose not to. Every time loneliness crept in, I reminded myself of the lesson. Trust misplaced can destroy everything. Loyalty broken never truly heals. One day, as I sat watching my grandchildren play in the backyard, Marlene's voice echoed in my memory. Michael, peace isn't found in revenge. It's found in knowing you survived. She was right. I had survived. But my revenge, it was complete.